Hey, Ken, can you hear me? Morning, Ken.
Morning, Ken.
Hey, Tom.
How you doing?
Good morning, everyone. We'll begin in 2 minutes. How's everyone doing this morning?
Doing well.
Doing well.
Excellent.
Ken, I'd like to get a recording of the session that we had on how to use Zoom. Can you send the link?
Yeah, I can. What I'll ask Komori to do, it would be a good thing, Komori, if you can just post the YouTube link. Tom, you should be able to access all of the past coffee sessions off of that.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yep. No. Share. Hey, Komori, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. And you can post that link to the YouTube. Yep, perfect. That's great. All right, I show it's 9:30. Is that what you have, Komori?
Yep, I do.
All right, you tell me you're recording and I'll get it started.
And we are recording now.
Perfect. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another day in the neighborhood. How's everyone doing this morning?
Doing well, thank you.
Good.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So we're gonna. I think this is right. Our sixth coffee calling and chat session. The last one that we did was on resilience. Komori will post information on the next one, and as always, we'll send you an evaluation afterwards. And if there are some topics there are of interest to you, let us know and we'll do our best to think about them and maybe do them. I know we're going to do something on maintaining morale, something on mindfulness is coming up. We're thinking about doing a session on art therapy. So some interesting sessions coming up that I know I'm interested to hear about. Before we get underway, again, we've got sort of an interesting blend of existing clients, new clients, and colleagues. So a little bit about us. So this is year 24 that I've run my own firm, and the focus of Boxer Advisors is to deliver high impact coaching, consulting, training solutions. And we believe that one of the secret sauces to having us do what we do is to integrate what we're doing into our client environment. And when we find that we do that, we're able to help our clients get measurable results. The end of the day, there are three things that we do. We help our clients build leadership capabilities. We help them drive organizational change and we help them to engage and retain talent. I think all those three things these days are pretty important. I assume everyone has a piece of paper and a pencil handy, yes? Thumbs up, yes? Excellent. I want you to write down 4 questions on a piece of paper. One of the things that we've gotten feedback about is we can, even in 30 minutes, we can make these sessions more interactive. So I'm going to try to do that today, and hopefully you'll find that it's helpful. So one question is, what are some symptoms that you see that managers face when they're micromanaging? What are some symptoms that managers face when they micromanage? A second question is, what are some ways that you have either A, seen it done to you, or B, you've done for others if you're a manager, or you've read about in a book or an article, but what are some ways that managers can avoid micromanaging and can maybe do a better job at delegating? That's the second question. What are some ways that managers can do a better job at delegating? The third question, and again, we'll ask this in the follow-up survey, but I thought we'd start it today, is what's one thing that you learned from today? And the last question is, what's one action you're going to take as a result of this session? Okay. So one of the things I think that befuddles lots of managers, and I will say honestly, it's something that I struggle with. I do. So if you think about micromanaging, it's where a manager closely observes or controls or reminds the worker, maybe not once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times, of the work they need to do. And it's generally, I think, considered to be negative because it shows a lack of freedom. I think it shows a lack of trust. I think it doesn't build self-confidence in the minds of the employees, and those are not good things. Can anyone think of a different definition of micromanaging, or does that seem to cover it for you? So we know those are things we shouldn't do. So reasons you shouldn't micromanage. You shouldn't micromanage because it probably suppresses innovation. It might be, if you're micromanaging, that employees are just going to sit back and say, okay, big boy or big girl, you tell us what to do, you figure it out. It can, slow down workflow, and it can sometimes double workload. So, when you're trying to go fast or you're trying to work more efficiently, if you're micromanaging, that might not allow things to go super smoothly. It can kill confidence. It can lead to resentment and, can irritate members of your team, can lead to insecurity. As I said, it certainly can kill creativity and innovation. So some symptoms that I thought of is you don't delegate. You're constantly checking and looking over the shoulder of your people. You're bogged down in the day-to-day. You're the only one maybe coming up with good ideas, or you think you're the only one coming up with good ideas. You position yourself as the expert, and no one else has a way to do it. You turn people over often. You struggle to focus on long term, and your team thinks that you're not such a nice person. Are there other symptoms that you think your managers face when they delegate? You can either A, say it if you want to unmute yourself, or B, you can type in the chat bar.
This is Skip.
Yeah.
I think it causes an environment of fearfulness, so that people are afraid to try new things out. They're afraid. It's like no good deed goes unpunished. They're, you and I, Ken, we use that model of go find me a rock.
Yes.
It's like, you bring back a rock, that's not the rock I want, so and it feels like you're being set up to fail. And it just greatly increases stress. And ultimately, I think it can result in people self-medicating or taking off Fridays and Mondays, or any time they can be away from work, they are, that kind of thing.
Yep. Does everyone know that expression, bring me a rock? Have you ever heard that? Have you heard that?
No, no.
Yep. So if you haven't heard it, so there's, I think it's a story years ago, and someone says, bring me a rock. So the person brings them a rock. No, that's not quite the rock I wanted. So the person goes back and brings them another rock. No, that's not quite the rock I wanted. So they go back and bring them another rock, and we go back and forth a number of times. And ultimately, the person says, well, really the rock I wanted was supposed to be a flat rock that I could skim around the water. Well, why didn't you tell me that from the beginning? And so I think there are some people, I do think Skip's right. I do think there are some employees who view their managers as playing stump the dummy, that they give them an assignment, they're not clear with expectations. So the person brings them a rock. It's not the it's not quite the right rock. They say, go back and do it again. And they go back a couple of times, and can frustrate people. It can.
And the other
Yep.
piece of that is, if the manager hasn't thought through exactly what he or she wants, then it's very unfair for everybody else.
Yeah.
Because it just creates that environment. A manager would be much better to either spend some time thinking about exactly what it is he or she wants.
Yes.
And targeting resources that way, I would think.
Yep. Can anyone else think of any other symptoms that managers face? Bad things that managers face when they do micromanage?
So this is Carol, and I'm a
Hey, Carol,
federal
yeah.
career counselor. I can, and everybody else that I know on this group. What I have found is that when people come to me and they complain about their boss, which is part of what career counseling is about.
Yes.
I find that they try to circumvent their boss so that the boss isn't quite clear about what they're doing. So the boss's job is workforce management, right? Workplace management, managing what the work that the person does. But the person kind of circumvents the boss to get their work done. And
Yes.
it's not an active act of rebellion, but yet it is rebellious in many ways. And it's not the person who does good work who sets the dynamic up. It's the manager.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So it can when a manager micromanage, it can almost cut the manager off at the knees and make the manager really not effective in doing what he or she's supposed to do. That's possible. Can anyone think about any other symptoms that you think managers face when they do micromanage?
Hi, Ken. This is John Verico. How are you?
Hey, John. Good to hear your voice.
So one of the things that I see quite often is that people just wind up doing the bare minimum if
Yes,
they're micromanaged.
That's right.
What happens is the direction that they're getting from their boss is not only just to create this product, but
Yes.
how to create this product into
Yeah.
micro detail. They're given so much oversight and not given any sort of latitude to be able to do the product the way they would want to be able to do it. The object is to come up with whatever the end result is supposed to be.
Yes.
The problem is when you try to tell people how to get to that end result and every step they have to take along the way.
That's right.
What happens is if they hit a barrier in the production process,
Yes.
they don't take any chances, they don't take any risks, they don't actually find ways around it, and they don't actually solve whatever the problem is. So,
That's right.
what happens is you get the bare minimum requirement of work at the end of the day.
I think you're right, John. I think, and again, if you look at what's going on in organizations today, most most organizations, obviously not all of them, but most of them are still teleworking and there's a lot of work to be done. So if you have people that are not being innovative, not taking risks, doing the bare minimum, that's a bad thing. I'm going to share with you, I'm going to be a little vulnerable. I'm going to share with you an example of an experience that I had this week in micromanaging my staff. And I'm going to ask you for your advice about what I have a feeling I know what I could have done different, but if people have some ideas, you know, I'm open to your coaching. So I think people know that it's impossible for us to get work if we're not submitting proposals. Everyone understands that, right? That's impossible. And so we uncovered an opportunity that was actually, in my backyard in Norfolk, Virginia. I forwarded it to one of our colleagues, didn't hear from him. I talked with one of my colleagues. We were going through a review of the pipeline. I said, will you follow up with him? Okay. So a couple of things happened the day. I start getting anxious. I haven't seen the email go out to this person saying, hey, did you get the email? Did you get the email? And for us, most of our colleagues, our teaming partners like Skip. Skip is someone I work with every week. But Skip doesn't work for me. Skip has his own business. He's got his own list of priorities. So I send a follow-up email to our teaming partner saying, hey, did you hear this? And then I get an email from my colleague saying, hey, you asked me to send the email. I sent it and I didn't see the email. So obviously that was not my shining moment. I didn't see the email. I probably should have done something else, but I'll let you guys tell me, what might I have done rather than send the email myself? Oh, come on.
Ken, this is Tom.
There you go.
One thing you might consider is pick up the phone and call him and say, have you sent this? I didn't see it.
Yep, I think that's good. So, part of the challenge for me is some of the people, I would say most of the people that work for me, they're not working 80 hours a week. And on top of it, their schedule has changed with the coronavirus. So they've got, kids at home and maybe husband's working home. They've got other things to do. But I think rather than sending the email, I think, Tom, you're right. I could have called my colleague and saying, hey, have you sent it yet? Or when do you think you're going to send, as opposed to me sending it? That's true. Anything else that I could have done different than sending the damn email myself, which probably was not the right idea.
You could have gave clearer instructions in your first email to be sure and CC you when they emailed.
Yep. I think I could have done that. Yep. I think that's good. What else could I have done? That's good.
Double check your email or your spam before
Yeah.
you send that. Yeah.
Yep. I think that's good. Yep. I think I could have been clearer when we're reviewing things to say, when will you send this? So I think I could have been clearer about deadlines. Anything else? Going once, going twice. If people have other ideas, you can put them in the chat bar. So if you're not going to micromanage, I might suggest that people think about delegation and effective delegation as a tool that you can use to more efficiently distribute work to people. I think the data shows that that leaders who are strong delegators accomplish more than they do, when they don't delegate to others. I think data shows that when people are better delegators, employee satisfaction increases. I think the data shows that when people are better delegators, that they actually get more work done, which seems counterintuitive, but I think that's the right case. Can anyone think about, again, either if you're a leader or an employee, a time when either A, you delegated effectively to others, or work was effectively delegated to you, and how did you feel?
When someone plays to my strengths and comes to me and says, I'm asking you to do this because you're really good at this, and I appreciate the work you do in this area. I
And
feel
why?
validated and good.
Yeah. So it validates how you feel about yourself. Yep. What's anyone else's perspective on either A, if you're a leader and you delegated, how do your people feel? Or if you're an employee, how do you feel when someone effectively delegates work to you?
I feel trusted.
That's right. Yep.
I think that's probably one of the biggest motivational factors right there,
Right.
is the fact that the employee feels that they are trusted to do their
Yeah.
job and to be successful.
That-
I always give people the opportunity. I hate to put it this way, but I give them the opportunity to fail,
Yep.
and I find that they wind up not failing because
Yep.
they feel empowered and trusted.
That's right. So I think those are two key words: empowered. So when someone's empowered, they're willing to take more risks. They're willing to be more innovative. They're willing to do more than just the bare minimum. And if they're trusted, they feel better about themselves. They're probably going to invest more than less discretionary effort. That makes sense? So if you, go ahead. Yep.
Usually I find that if I delegate well, I get a better product than if I had done the work myself.
That's interesting. So again, I think sometimes managers don't delegate it because they think I can get this done better or faster, which isn't necessarily the way it works. That sometimes you get a better product if you delegate work effectively to someone else and they have an opportunity to do their best work. That's right. So again, if you're doing if you're not delegating, we talked about this, deadlines are missed, employee suggestions are neglected, employees frequently request transfers, or communications is slow. And I think when you don't do a good job at delegating, sometimes people are unsure about their authority and responsibility. So if that's the negative, again, let's take a look at the positive. And so if we're not going to micromanage, hopefully managers are going to do a better job delegating effectively. And delegation is not just dumping work on people. I think delegation is being clear about expectations from the beginning. So again, if you're doing a good job at delegating, you're not playing the example that Skip talked about, bring me a rock. So you're being clear about the task, your expectations, your specific requirements, what's the end result that you want done, when do you want it done, what are some parameters that don't go beyond this. If you think the person needs specific tools and resources, that you give it to them, and that you're talking about maybe some challenges or obstacles that they might consider. Can anyone think of an example? Again, you talked about feeling trusted, empowered, and you actually get a better product. Can anyone else talk about any other strategies related to effective delegation that either A, you've done, or B, you've seen done?
Yeah, this is Skip. When I was
Yeah.
in the Army, sometimes our commander would call us in, and all the senior sergeants would sit around the table, and he or she would describe the project or the mission that we had to accomplish, and then he would ask, who would be interested in doing which part. So instead of me trying to second guess who I should give a certain piece to, they actually, whenever possible, they actually got a chance to pick the one they had the most interest in, or to be able to configure themselves in groups of 2 or 3 and take on multiple assignments. And so we ended up getting much better, much more robust, much higher energy, much more creativity by doing it that way.
That's great. That's great. Thanks, Skip. Can anyone else think about an example that either you've done as a leader or it's been done to you, an example of effective delegation? Going once, going twice. What I'd ask everyone to do is think about work that you need done this week and try to think through how can you be clearer at the beginning? How can you be clearer at the beginning before you delegate work to someone? Obviously, there are some real benefits to not micromanaging and delegating more effectively. So one is it provides more growth opportunities. So as someone said, I think Tom said, you actually get a better work product at the end of the day. So if you do a better job at delegating, I think at the end of the day, you give people an opportunity to shine. And then as Carol said, if you're thoughtful about delegating and playing to people's strengths, people feel more confident. It increases their level of career satisfaction, something that Carol likes to see and hear. I think it can do a better job at, promoting teamwork. So if everyone sees that the leader is delegating work efficiently and equitably, I think people feel better about the team. It can obviously increase productivity and efficiency. It actually can save money. You actually can get things done faster. Obviously, it can reduce turnover and improve talent management. So I would encourage everyone to think about some specific ways that you can try this week. I know I'm going to try before the end of the week to think about ways that I can do a better job at delegating more effectively and can do a better job at not micromanaging. So one of the things that has come up in a couple of the coffee sessions is that people have asked us when we've done the evaluation to tell us what are some tools that we can offer if you're interested in delving into this concept in more detail. So one of the things that we've done, thanks to one of our colleagues, Sarah, she set up this Adobe access to order books. And so there are 2 books on micromanaging that you might consider. One is called My Way or the Highway. Obviously not the right thing to do. Better to do a better job at delegating, but I think it's a pretty clever book. And a second book is Moving from Micromanaging to Masterful Leadership. So those are 2 books. Some other tools that we have available are one of the things that we do lots of is we offer coaching for leaders. One of the things Skip talked about last week around building resilience is offering coaching to senior leaders. So we can offer, sort of very targeted coaching to help managers more effectively build their skills in doing a better job at delegating. And one of the things that Skip and I and others do regularly is offer training on this topic. And so if someone was interested in bringing in either a 60 or 90-minute webinar, that's something that we can do. So if, one of the things, Kamori, we should do is include those 2 links to those 2 books on in the follow-up email that we send to folks. So one of the things I thought I'd do is answer any questions that you have. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to stop the share. There you go. So does anyone have any questions about micromanaging that I might answer?
This is Skip. One of the dynamics that I'm finding as we look at how to manage remote workers is that there are some managers who really find it a real challenge to have people that are not in the office in sight of them. And so their desperate fear of workers not working, they then overcompensate by checking in, every hour on the hour, whatever it might be.
Right.
And, I've even heard things where I want you to document everything that you do today and send it to me every 15 minutes what you did. And, it's just
Right.
over the top sometimes.
And so your question is, how do you not do no? Do you have a question or you're just making a comment?
Who, me?
Yeah,
I was making a comment.
comment. Gotcha. So obviously, if you take it what Skip said, I think one of the things that I think managers can do in these times that people might be working differently is to clarify people's work schedules. Or when you make an assignment, if something is urgent, you can say, hey, I'd like for you to get back to me before the end of the day, not in the next 10 minutes. Does anyone have another question?
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Tom.
When we micromanage, sometimes the result is malicious compliance.
Mm.
It's a cartoon that I like. Boss says, "Oh no, you did it exactly like I said to do it."
Right. So I think I think the implication is if you're not trusting your people, they may give you what you wanted, which may not be ultimately what you need. I think that's true. So my clock says we've got 60 seconds left. So Komori, if you can put up information about the next coffee sessions that we're going to have, that would be great. So my understanding is that next week's session, hopefully I'll get this quick. So next week's session is May 7th next week. Wow. So we're going to have a session next week about how to leverage the suite of solutions in Google. So there are some really powerful tools that you can use to help get work done using Google. Then May 14th, we're going to do a session on time management. Obviously, that's something we can all benefit from. And then May 21st, we're going to do a session on mindfulness. And then, Komori, if you can put up the date for our upcoming webinar, that would be great. So May 19th, we're going to do a webinar. So one of the things that we have done for our clients is we are delivering lots. I mean, obviously we're not doing training face-to-face these days because everyone's remote. So all the training that we had on the calendar, we're now delivering remotely. And so I thought it might be interesting to share a little peek behind the curtain and share with you some of the webinars that we're doing for clients and talk about what are some best practices that we're seeing relative to delivering training remotely. So I have 10 o'clock, so I'm going to end the formal session as Skip did last week and Sarah did a couple weeks ago when she was doing the session on Zoom. I'll stick around for a couple minutes. Tom, I think that Komori did. Yep, she did. So you should see that link to the Zoom sessions. Do you see that? Yes? Okay. So if anyone has any further questions, I'm happy to answer them. If I've given you some suggestions of things that you can do, that would be great. Before I let you go, what's one action? I'm just curious. What's one action that you're going to do this week to either A, do a better job at not micromanaging and do a better job at delegating, or if you're an employee, what are you going to do to help your manager or leader do a better job at delegating or not micromanaging to you? And I'd be curious to see people's responses. So either what are you going to, and you can just type that into the chat bar, that would be great. So Kamori, thanks for providing invaluable producer help today. Anything, Kamori, that I should have said that I didn't say? I'm assuming we're good. All right, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Again, next week's session is on the Google suite of tools. I hope that you have a great rest of the day and a relaxing weekend. Bye, everyone.